muscle activation and breathing. So this is foundational warm-up number 3. We went through foam rolling, into mobility, and now this is our last step before we hit our dynamic warm-up. So we're gonna do 5 things here, mainly focusing on core activation so we can work on getting our hips neutral, and glute activation because that's kind of our powerhouse as we go into sprinting and jumping. So the first one that we're gonna do is a Cook hip lift. Again, another one I'm stealing from Functional Movement Screen and Great Cook. It's a great exercise, but let's really call it what it is. It is a glute bridge, and we're just making sure that we're activating our glute. So I'm gonna turn to the side for you here. We're gonna lay on our back. We're gonna get flat. We're gonna put one leg right here, and the other leg kind of up in the air. And so if this is a true Cook hip lift, and I'll do it with my athletes most of the time, I'd take a tennis ball and put it right here and force myself to hold that tennis ball. Not going to do that today, just kind of want to go over the glute bridge, and then when you're ready for that, you can just take something, and what you're doing is making sure that you can go and push through the floor and still come into flexion all the way here. So I'm going here, I'm flat, I'm going to kind of shut off my core, and I'm going to push up and squeeze my butt. Now, what I'm trying to make sure is that I'm actually activating my glute. So a lot of times when athletes do this the first time, their hamstring will light on fire. And that's really not, hey, we got muscle activation, but we need to be able to build that neurological pathway to say, I want the glute to fire, not the hamstring. And so really where we got to start, if they do that, is just right here before they even go, we got to start saying, hey, squeeze your butt. And if they don't get that, I might even sit them up, focus on squeezing just their butt first before we go through here so they're pushing from there. So hands can kind of cheat and go on the side. Again, if we had a tennis ball, we'd go through there and then pushing, squeezing, and I'll just hold for about 10 seconds, maybe 15, just working that glute activation. So number 2, I'm going to stay down here, is working a dead bug. So I do a dead bug with band as an exercise. I like to put this in my warm-up, one, just to work on training and getting our pelvis in a neutral position, and 2, it's not trying to squeeze and pull as hard as we can with our core, but it really is focusing on core activation and neutral hips. So we're going to lay on our back. The first thing we would do is, it's called the dead bug. For me, at least, I have my athletes think that there's a deadly spider underneath the curve of their back here, and we just want to rotate our hips this way. So we're going to rotate them into a neutral position, and now we're flat in our back and our stomach is strong. I'm not pulling all the way through and crushing, I'm just pulling and holding. So now that I get that with my feet there, then I'm just going to take my feet up. I'm going to hold this. This is going to make it probably a little bit easier, but now as I go out with my legs, I'm going to extend one and pull the other, and then rotate that. The lower I go to the ground with my feet down here, the harder it's going to be. The higher I go, the easier it'll be. So on the sheet, on the warm-up there, we're going about 20 each leg, and if you go slow and controlled and focus on that, you're really going to be strong. The best part about this is, now if you stand up, you can kind of learn to understand, okay, where's that neutral hip, is my pelvis in a neutral position, because you work that dead bug. So there's number 1, number 2, and so number 3 now that we're going to go to, I have myself, it's just simple 2x4 here, and it's a heel lift. So let's say I didn't have enough ankle mobility in a squat to be able to go down. What I'm going to do here is a squat hold, and then I'm going to reach with my opposite arm. So I'm going to use the heel lift as a cheat to kind of show you. I'm going to keep my toes kind of pointed forward, shoulder width apart, and I'm going to go down, and I'm just going to hold this, okay, and sit like the rest of the world does. And this is a real good position. As Americans, we really kind of get lazy, and we're not used to sitting in this position, and then we lose mobility in kind of our ankles, our knees, and our hips. So here I'm going to sit for a second. I would grab both toes if I needed to, and then now what I'm going to do is rotate and reach, and I'm going to work on T-spine mobility. So my T-spine, my upper spine, not my lower spine, so I'm not rotating from my lower back. Work on my T-spine mobility as I'm sitting in this squat hold. Working on that, hold for a couple seconds, and then I would switch and work on the rotation here, trying to keep that chest up, rotate with my T-spine. You can see my left side isn't great. I've had a shoulder injury where I dislocated my shoulder multiple times, so I don't have full range of motion, and that does mess up my T-spine rotation. So for you guys, sitting in that squat hold, holding it for a little bit, and then working the rotations, getting the T-spine mobility through that. So now we have 2 left. We're going to do an ab chair, what I like to call an ab chair now, and it's just good posture and a hold. And this is where a lot of my ab exercises are going to come out of. We're not going to do a lot of flexion, but we will do extension. So we're just going to kind of sit, and this is why we're sitting, and I like to call it an ab chair. You're kind of making a chair, and you're going to make sure you have those neutral hips, squeeze your shoulder blades, make your chest proud here, and then from here we're gonna go up behind ourselves with our ears and go straight, and we're trying to hold this, and you can even see as I shake, I'm trying to push my feet flat, and I get that extension, and now I'm working strong core, and I'll probably even working on my back. Now, I put just a time limit on this because it really, however long you can hold it. What I don't want is to come into flexion like this and hold it. I want to be proud. I want to have a straight line. I want to be squeezing my abs. And if I can't get my arms up right away, I can just start here, and then I can work to here, and then I can progress all the way through here trying to hold that. So there's number 4. So the last one, we're going to do a plank. So most of us know what a plank is. We want to make sure that our back is flat all the way from our shoulders, all the way through our feet, okay? Not pushing our butt up in the air and not arching our low back and letting it sink. So it also says with diaphragmatic breathing on there. I want to make sure that we're working on breathing. You know, we talked about dead bugs to get our hips in a neutral position. Then we talk about bracing, getting tall and skinny. And the last thing we really want to talk and focus on is as we blow that air out, that's really the position we want to be in, preparing for sprinting, cutting, running, jumping, all that stuff. So focusing on this, I like to tell my athletes, nice, slow, controlled breath in. So we're working on using the diaphragm to pull that, and that should expand the chest. And then as we blow out, we should feel our core push that air out rather than kind of breathe in from our belly or just short breaths. We actually work on using that diaphragm to pull that air in and then push it out. So in the plank position, I like to have them think about blowing a birthday candle out. I don't want them to hyperventilate, going in and out. So it's slow breathing and then blowing the candle out. I like to kind of put 10 breaths on there. And then the variation of the plank is we're going to work opposite arm, opposite leg if we can get there. So that's going to make it pretty tough. And I'll show you facing on and facing this way too. But if we can't get that, we can just start with a normal plank, and then from there maybe work an arm or a leg, and then try and work opposite arm, opposite leg. So what that would look like from the side here is making sure get in my plank position. I'd hold this for about 15-20 seconds, focusing on my breathing in and then blowing all my air out. I'm not going to blow into the mic here, but blowing all my air out forcefully, that would squeeze my core. And then for about 15 seconds, I would trade opposite arm, opposite leg. And what you'll notice is my arm is going straight through my ear, trying to go straight and point my toe and not let myself rotate like that. Really got to fight that rotation. Then I go back down to 2, switch opposite arm, and then go back down to 2, and that would last me probably about a minute 10 seconds. So as I'm doing that, then I'm also focusing on that real good breathing in and out. So reviewing here real quick, the 5 things that we do. Now after this, I would hop our athletes up, get right into our dynamic, which should hit really quickly, hopefully 4 or 5 minutes. And then now, boom, we're ready. We're ready to go. We've gone through our foam rolling, done our mobility, done our activation stuff, dynamic, starting to sweat, and then now we're ready for a performance enhancement. So last thing here on this foundational number 3, remember, think about what you're working on, activating your glutes, getting your hips in a neutral position, activating your core, and you're starting out with that glute bridge. Then you go to that dead bug, and you're working that squat position and the rotation of the T-spine. There, lastly, you're working those 2 core exercises, the ab chair, and then the plank, and really focus on the diaphragmatic breathing. That's something a lot of us miss as athletes, is breathing correctly, and that can really help us not only finish a rep, but finish a game.